Are you ready for your interview? Unique Chapman from Where's the Buzz? My first question's for Darby. So your character, Emily, she has this fear of being different and standing out. And that's a fear that we all have, like, especially growing up. What is some advice that someone's giving you about celebrating your uniqueness that you use during those moments?
Yeah, I mean, Emily does struggle with not wanting to stand out and herself, and she does have a lot of self-doubt because of those girls who are mean to her at school. But I think it's important, and Emily, this happens to her throughout the movie, to just find yourself and kind of accept yourself for your differences. And I know that's pretty difficult, but it takes a lot of work. But I think it's so important to kind of figure out your differences and love yourself because of it and accept others for their differences because we can see how important it is or how bullying impacts kids and how being kind just goes such a long way, and I think that's a really important lesson in this story.
So, Jack, your character, Uncle Casey's a hot mess. He's like the living embodiment of being a millennial trying to figure out adulthood in New York City. How much or how little did you relate to your character?
Yeah, I think I definitely related to Case quite a lot. He's a man child, he's in arrested development, and yeah, not very punctual, bit of a slob. Like, definitely that's what I was like. I mean, maybe a couple of years ago, I like to think possibly I've grown up a bit more. But he's a fun character as well because he does go on this journey, and over the course of the movie, he does step up to the plate and accept a little bit of responsibility and comes to realize that it's not quite as scary as he thought it was. So yeah, he was a really fun character to play.
So this movie has a lot of underlining themes within it. What was one of the things that each of you related to the most and why?
I think I can relate to Emily a lot is for her love for her dog. I mean, Clifford. And I think people who don't own dogs can or are not really dog persons, which are dog people, which is hard to find someone who's not a dog person, but can be like think about how like that's hard to love like an animal, because then you can't talk or whatever. But it's just such a special bond that she has with Clifford, and I'd like to say that I have that with my dogs as well. And I just love that part of Emily and Clifford's relationship.
And I like the theme as well that sort of people can grow and people can develop, and you shouldn't necessarily judge a book by its cover. And if you believe in people, then often they can surprise you. I think that's a nice message that the film has as well.
And lastly, why do you think people love Clifford so much, no matter the age?
I think every age loves Clifford because I mean he's been around for so long since 1963, and he's a big red dog, which is so unique and a story that no one's really heard before. And I think that the books have been so special because when you read them as kids, I mean, you kind of grow up with that, and it's always a part of your life if you start reading it when you're young. And Clifford also just that artwork is so beautiful, and I think that this it's such a he has such a distinct um, like cartoon kind of style, so that that's always like in people's minds of how Clifford is drawn out.
Hi, Walter. Hi, Jordan. How are you guys?
Happy to see you.
World. Oh, you're already making me feel like I hope our movie makes people feel.
Oh, yes. Like, I really loved you guys' movie. But the one question I had, why move it from Birdwell's Island to New York City?
First of all, there were a few changes that we wanted to make to the material. What underlies the books that Norman Bridwell wrote was unconditional love, and that was certainly at the core of our movie. And we start our movie where Emily Elizabeth and her mom have moved 6 months ago from Bridwell Island and come to Manhattan because we also made the decision that instead of a 6-year-old, where it was a very, very young film, we wanted her to be a tween, 12 years old or so, and experiencing some difficulties in the adjustment that all of us feel when we're new in a place, and that Clifford himself, because he's red and because he's big, feels the same sense of not fitting in. And she goes through some bullying. And ultimately, Clifford has people who either love him or are afraid of him. And putting them in an environment like New York, a much larger environment, gave us the ability to do that, because we like to make movies that are for adults but appropriate for children. No violence or sexuality, none of those things. So we wanted to have a classic, and we wanted to have it work for whether you're 4 years old or 40 years old or 104 years old. So that's what we were going for.
You guys definitely did that. The movie had me laughing the entire time, and like those little small sad moments. But like, why do you think Clifford means so much to everyone, no matter the age?
I think because it represents, like Jordan was saying, this powerful emotion of unconditional love between, whether that's a pet and a person, or a family, or a mom and a son, or a dad and a daughter. Like, to me, that's what resonates from the book. That we put a couple of nods to the book, like, oh, he saves somebody off a building, or he does this. But really what we try to do is take, why is this book so emotional? And to me, it's just, they're little simple stories, but at the end of the day, it's about the connection, between this little girl and her dog. And so that, I think that's why it's resonated, across countries, or, across generations, because I've read it to my kids now. So, this is second generation for me now.
Hi, Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. So this movie has a lot of themes within it, and I want to know, what's one of the themes you connected with and why?
I think one of the themes that I connected with is definitely loyalty and trust. And to be able to trust in another, that's definitely a thing I connected with, and that's definitely a thing that I always try to do in real life.
Okay, so how relatable was your character to you, and how do you guys differ?
I think we relate to a way where we really care and we are really loyal and trustworthy to our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then how we don't relate is how he's a lot nerdier than me, and I'm like way cooler than him by like a giant mark. I'm just kidding. No, he is a little nerdier than me, but we're both still nerds. But I think that's one of our biggest differences.
Okay, so why do you think Clifford means so much to so many people? Because you have adults that are excited to see this movie. So why do you think he means so much to people?
I think Clifford means so much because Clifford can show the differences that we have, and he can show that it doesn't matter what we look like or how we act, we can treat each other the same. And for example, we can treat each other how we treat ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things about this movie.
Okay, and if you could pick any character from your favorite book, who would it be, and would you want to play them, and why?
A character from my favorite book?
Favorite video game, whatever.
Probably like, I'd want to play like a really overpowered fantasy world character. Like, there's a lot, like, yeah, but I'd probably want to be like a really overpowered and have like a lot of cool things. And yeah, that's probably, and there's so many to name, but I'd probably be one of those characters.
All right, give me one of them that you can think of off the top of your head.
Genos is really cool. He's from One Punch Man.
And why him?
He's a cyborg. He doesn't feel pain, which is good because I don't like feeling pain. It's not fun. And he has a lot of cool weapons.
So my last question is, what was one of your favorite scenes to film, and why?
One of my favorite scenes to film was the fart scene when Clifford farted in the trailer car, not trailer car, but basically farted in the truck. And it was fun kind of pretending like it's basically just a dinosaur farting. And so it was fun to pretend because, I mean, I have uncles who fart really badly. They have stinky fart. Uncle Jimmy. If you're listening to this, Uncle Jimmy, you know who you are. Yeah, anyways, that was a fun scene.
Hi, Unique. It's John.
Hi, John. How are you? First of all,
I wanted to see how you spelled it. I wonder if it was YEWNEEK or something, but it's
Oh,
Unique.
no. Yeah, it's just a regular, like you and I, Kiwi.
You're a one-off, Chapman.
Thank you. And first of all, I just wanted to say, you were in one of my all-time favorite childhood movies growing up, The Swan Princess.
Wait a minute. What do you mean one of the?
Well, you're like a lot of them, but Swan Princess was like my heart. That was my favorite childhood movie. But one of the things I want to know is this movie has so many underlying themes. What was one that stood out to you the most?
Well, I think the key, they say, well, this is about getting bigger. And there's a big American idea that you got to get bigger and bigger and bigger and have more and more money, which of course causes a lot of unhappiness because nobody's ever satisfied. No, I think that this is about confidence. Mm-hmm. And I think that what Darcy gives to Clifford is the confidence to be himself. You mustn't see it literally. And so what is growing is Clifford's confidence to be himself. Because when you're young, you may be trying to please everyone and make friends and sort of make sure everybody loves you and accepts you. So you do a whole lot of things you don't really want to do just to get that sense of acceptance. And then as you get older, I don't know, maybe I think you run out of energy to do things that aren't really you, that are a bit fake. And so as you stop doing the fake things, you become more and more yourself. But it takes a long time to find out about yourself. And you never really know yourself. For example, I don't know if I was fighting in a war. I don't know whether I'd be the most terrible coward or whether I would be extremely brave and stupid. You see what I mean? Until I was there, I don't know.
I also want to know, so your character has this magical animal rescue, right? What is, and you have to be creative with this one, what is one magical animal that you think a kid would find in your rescue that they would be super interested in?
Well, I think it's incredibly good for kids to have something to look after because they have to care for something other than themselves. Do you see what I mean? And they do it almost automatically if you give them an animal. So I don't think it matters. And if you're in a small flat, maybe a cat or go smaller, I mean, if you have a guinea pig or a rat, rats are very good friends. The only trouble with rats is they don't live very long, but they're very intelligent and they're very nice little creatures. But if you've got something to look after, I know there's a school in Santa Barbara, and the first thing that they do when you go to the school is they give you a horse to look after because it makes you think of someone other than yourself. And that's healthy. People who spend their whole time thinking about themselves, they're usually worrying about themselves and thinking that they're not good enough themselves. We give them an animal and they have a chance to focus on something else.
Well, thank you. That's all the time I have today. It was nice chatting with you.
Good. Nice to talk to you, Nick. Lots of love.
Where's the buzz?
Oh, yeah.
Where is the buzz? You said
used to be
was
the same,
mine.
Where